Hey, bow hunters, welcome back to another episode. This week's episode is a little bit of a trial and error. I jumped on Instagram Live earlier in the week and just hit record just to see how it would go, and I think it was pretty good. So during the podcast, I talk about my new thumb release. It's a Trueball. We got confused and said it was Turnbull during. So Trueball, it's the Fang 3. Just for anyone who is wanting to know what that brand is, that is it. And also, I talked about the Renegade Bowman event that's happening this weekend. So date of this is the Friday, whereas it will be the following day. So the weekend of the 14th and 15th of September. So if you guys are listening, you want to head along to that, jump on out from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. on Saturday and from 8 a.m. till 11:45 on Sunday. I'm actually only able to get out there on the Saturday for a few hours. So if you are going to be there, anytime from around 10:45 is, I think, probably the first thing I'm going to get along to until around 1:32, 3, depending on what time that last talk finishes, the butchering and caping. That's about all I've got time to stick around for. So if you guys are around, please come and introduce yourselves. I'd love to meet you guys in person. For you guys to be able to put a face to the name as well. So, yeah, if you're out and about, please come and say hey. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoy this episode. I do ask a few questions throughout the podcast. So if you have any guests that you want to recommend, or if you have any recommendations or feedback on the podcast, I'd also love to hear that. If you guys have not already pressed subscribe, please do, as it definitely helps out the show. Also, if you guys can leave a beautiful little 5-star rating, if you think that is true, of the show, with any sort of feedback you have around that, would be great as well, because once again, that does really help the show out. So that's it for me. Peace out. Enjoy the episode. Talk soon. Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm your host, Maddie, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands, searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bow hunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bow hunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bow hunting. Bow hunters, welcome back to Becoming a Bow Hunter. I'm Maddie, and today I am on Instagram Live. Got a heap of people joining me, so hello to all the folks who are joining in. Going to do a little live podcast, meaning live on Instagram, and you guys are welcome to join in and ask to be joined. We'll see how the audio works out and see how that all goes. I'm going to talk about a few different things. Few things that I've gone through recently with my archery. I've recently just got a thumb release, which I'm really excited about, but it kind of took me on a whole new learning curve. I'll try to block that light out. It kind of took me on a whole new learning curve just recently, where I had to pretty much reteach myself about my anchoring points and bits and pieces. And one thing that was massively useful for me was the Knock On series, John Dudley's stuff. So if you haven't seen his stuff, it is incredible. John Dudley is the guy behind Knock On, but if you haven't heard of him, he is a guy from the States who helps a whole heap of people with archery, but he was an an archer himself, and he did not only like the 3D archery and was really successful in that. And I think he shot for a few different brands. I think he might have shot for like Matthews, as well as eventually now he's a Hoyt shooter. Well, I don't know if he's still a Hoyt shooter, but he's definitely on the Hoyt team to some extent. They definitely still sponsor him. But I started watching some of his videos, and that's been really, really helpful for me. So a thumb release, for those who are listening who don't know, it's like a little claw. You pull the bow back, and it's released through the thumb rather than a trigger on the finger. It's trigger release that comes in through the thumb. And so realistically, whenever you're using a trigger release, what you want to see is that it's a constant pull back rather than a pressing of the trigger, a pressing of that button. When you press at the button, what happens is that's what they call punching the trigger. Whereas when we can pull through and make that almost like a surprise release, that's more of like the ideal shot that we're looking for. So a good way to tell is if you're watching someone when they're shooting and their backhand, their hand that has the trigger on it, if it doesn't move, if it like just the finger moves and it just literally shoots off from there, and their hand stays in the one position, that's a fair sign that they are just punching the trigger. That's how they're releasing that button, releasing that arrow. Sorry. Whereas when you've got a tension release, or when you're trying to create that tension release, you should see that whole hand, boom, move back in position, pull back behind. So that's something that I've been really trying to play with this thumb release. And so what I've gotten used to is that whole trigger finger pulling over the top, pulling through, which works really well as an index finger. What's really freaking hard is trying to use your thumb now. So it changes the wrist position straight away. So with the wrist guard, with that trigger release, it sits on the side of my face, and I can find my anchor really easily. Whereas what I had to find is my hand is now fully rotated, and I had to find a new position because my anchor point, which used to be literally, if you're watching on Instagram, sorry for those who are just listening, but it used to be just pretty much in like the corner of my jawline. That's where I used to sit, and that was comfortable with it. Whereas now that I've got my thumb release, it was shooting incredibly well when I was shooting at 20. But as soon as I went to 30, it was shooting low and to the left every time, which meant that whatever I was doing was bucketing it down somehow. And that was all from my release because at 30, it's measured in, it's sighted in really well. So what I ended up doing was pulling up these videos from John Dudley, and pretty much it goes through your stance, first of all. It goes into pulling back, making sure you're drawing correctly, making sure that your shoulders are down, making sure that you're locked in position, your hand positions are all good, making sure that your anchor point is really good and solid, and then, of course, making sure that your release and your peep and everything is all in the right line, and that really, really helped me out. But shooting with the thumb release, it's just brought a whole new aspect to shooting for me. And it's been really fun to kind of change that around. So the biggest things that I had to change is now the release comes from between my pointer finger and my root finger. And so now what I do is I track my jawline when I'm pulling it back. A few other things that I was doing wrong that this video actually really pulled me up on was the positioning of the string based on where the string was sitting whenever I was taking my shot. So John Dudley talks about having it directly on the tip of your nose rather than on the side. Now, I was always worried because I've got a nose ring. If you can see on Instagram, I've got a nose ring. And I was always kind of worried that I was eventually going to flick that off. I knew it was never actually there, but my string typically sat just on that side. So I was resting it from here and it would shoot straight out. So I was never pulling on my nose or anything, but just the position that I'd actually sit it. So what I've now done is changed it so my position is now the string is sitting directly on the front of my nose. And that just allows me, I don't know, it's just a cleaner shot. It just seems to be a lot more direct every single time. When it comes to the housing, the peep sight housing, a big thing that he kind of really talks about was lining up your peep sight. So obviously when we're lining up, we're trying to cover the daylight of your color, of the color of your sight. But he really talks about seeing from the bottom right, like that whole little section of the bottom right. So check your bottom, make sure your bubble is in line. Check the right, make sure that's in line, then we're good to go. Once again, guys, if you are watching live, please feel free to jump on. I've got a heap of people that I've talked to and a few different people that I follow. But guys, definitely jump on if you want to come in and say, hey, if you want to have a little talk, if you want to be on the podcast, that would be super cool. If you want to jump in and say your little piece or ask any questions or do anything along those lines, I'm going to give you guys all a little wave. But yeah, so that thumb release has been really quite cool for me when it comes to just not changing style, but just kind of seeing how different it can be and really focusing on, focusing on how the shot release actually works. And transitioning from being that thumb release where the elbow's driving from the finger release, where the elbow's driving back to now trying to drive back with the thumb and trying to creep your thumb around to a good position. So when you're drawing back, you're not having to tweak your wrist as well. So that's also really good. What release are you using? So, my dog's probably about to go crazy. That's a good question. It is a Fang 3, I believe. I cannot remember the brand of it, but it was given to me as a present, which is sick. So I just got given it a few weeks ago as a present. So it's my 30th coming up. My 30th is around the due date of my baby, which is really exciting. But at the same time, it means that we pushed my 30th forward because of that reason. It's like, okay, if we're going to get this to work, if we're actually going to have a 30th for me without the baby coming on due date, or on the night of the 30th, it's worthwhile maybe getting and having a party before Turnbull, maybe. But yeah, so it's a thumb release. It's the Fang 3. I've left it downstairs, so I'm not even sure the brand. I did check out the brand and everything yesterday. I probably should have come a bit more prepared when it comes to that. And I can't even use my Google right now because I'm watching Instagram instead. But it's been really cool to use, and I don't know how expensive. I'm guessing it probably would have been one of the more of the bottom end ones based on the fact that it was a present. I know they can be quite expensive, so I would say that it wouldn't have been one of the best ones on the market, but it's definitely good. It's definitely been really cool. So fun to play with. Definitely is something a little bit different, but I'd strongly recommend if anyone is listening and have not checked out those John Dudley YouTube clips, that's really worthwhile. That has kind of been really good just to It's things that I went over when I went and saw Jake Gasparowski. I went and had a day with him, and we talked a lot about it. When I talked to Brad Smith about it, the bow hunting coach, once again, we talked about it a lot, but it's just kind of cool to go through it and join those bits and pieces together, join those dots together of going through your shot process and how critical it really is. And I ran into a mate on the weekend who I knew from the CrossFit realm, and he's just got himself a bow and he's really stoked. But he's like, "Oh, dude, I don't have anywhere short, like any short distances any long distances to shoot." I'm like, "Dude, just do it in your garage. Like, just get used to that shot repetition. Like, that is something that has helped me massively. Where I started in my garage of shooting like 8 meters every single day for so long just to get the hang of it. Whereas to now, where like I've got the ability to kind of shoot 20, 30, and 40 meters, it is slightly uphill, but that is still fine. It still works. Like, it's good for tuning it in, I guess, and having it on track. So for those, oh no, let me spin it back around. There we go. Just having some technical difficulties. Guys, once again, if you are watching along and you want to ask any questions or you want to jump in on the chat, please do. I've got a little microphone sitting right next to my phone, so you guys will be on the show. If not, like, this is just truly an experiment to see how it works out. But yes, realistically, in the coming weeks, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with the show. It might have a little pause just while baby does come. So I'm not really sure as to, depending on if I can get ahead enough with content. But right now, life has just been a little bit hectic. We've just built up our team. And my wife has gone on maternity leave, so we run the business together, which means now I'm running the business. So we've got an awesome team on board with us and helping us out a lot, but it also means that I've got a lot more responsibilities at the moment. So the show might be on pause, in particular when the baby comes, just for a month or so. So just so you're aware, listeners, just be wary of that. That if it does come to that point, that might be why the show is not getting any uploads in the coming weeks. But that is a problem to deal with when it gets to that state. So once again, listeners, viewers, any hunts planned, man, I really wish. This is actually a really cool point. So for my 30th, I've got some friends down in Canberra, and one of them was a bow hunter herself, and she kind of really pushed for their family. He's like family friends from way back when I was younger. She really pushed for their family to buy me a 6-month membership to the Ridge Group. So she's been in touch with Clark McGee and been talking with him from the Ridge Group, which means that they've given me 6 months. I think it's 6 months. It might be 3 months. But anyway, 6 months of continuous access to their property. So I'm not really sure. I don't know the ins and outs as of yet. But it is pretty much the Brisbane Valley. It means 6 months that I can go in pretty much as long as I've given them some form of notice, can go ahead and jump onto their properties and go hunting. I think there is access for red and fallows, which is really freaking exciting. So obviously I do have a property and I do have some access myself, which is up at Gympie. So it's kind of like probably like 3.5 hour drive. Not always, but sometimes it can be up to like 4.5 hours due to traffic. So depending on when you're leaving and just with the way that the timing falls, typically when I actually get to go is when the traffic is busiest, which means it's not a quick trip. I can't just do day trips. So I'm really looking forward to if, for instance, one of these properties is closer in the Brisbane Valley, that I might be able to get away for a hunt like that. That would be really cool. On a side note, recently, guys, I've been trialing some different recipes, and you may have seen a few weeks ago I put up some hare. Some it was it was delicious, but it was pretty much like Kentucky Fried Hare, or I guess what you'd call Kentucky Fried Hare. So what I did is I chopped up my hare. I got the whole hare carcass. It was in the freezer. Pulled it out. I deboned it all. That took quite a while, but deboned it all. Got it all set out and chopped into like pretty decent sized chunks. And from there, cool, I'll answer that in a sec, Tom. From there, what I ended up doing was dipping an egg, dipping into some corn flour with some salt, pepper, and some oregano, dipping it back through the egg, and then dipping it through some gluten-free bread crumbs, and then would chuck in the frying pan, and I literally just had like the thinnest little layer of ghee across the bottom, so it was literally just kind of cooking around the edges, and I'd cook that for a little bit, flip it over, cook that for a little bit, and that was really cool. That worked out really well. It was very delicious, and I've showed a fair few people it, and they really liked it as well. So one of the questions is, do I plan on hunting state forests? And state forest is where all the fun is at. I would love to join into some state forests. Right now, I don't have any plans to do it anytime soon, but it is definitely something that I do have on my mind. I guess realistically, with me being a bit time poor recently because of the business and because of the things I've had going on, my options for going has kind of been, okay, get to a place where I know there is game and try the best of luck right there. So the property that I have access to has red deer, and there was a fair chance that I was going to get onto the red deer. And pretty much every time I've been there, I've seen the red deer, which has been good. Just haven't actually had a good stalk on them. When it came to the paid property, we were told about how many goats there were. We were told about that there was deer about. So I was like, hey, if it's paid, you'd hope that it's going to be good access. You'd hope that there's going to be some decent stuff there. So state forest is definitely something I'd like to do eventually. To be honest, I haven't done any of my licensing or anything like that yet. So that's, once again, just another thing. So it's kind of like there's a few barriers to entry there for me right now. And that's probably what I would think stopped me from getting there so far. So yeah, I would love to eventually get onto the state forest. And I think that's like a whole nother thing to unpack. I think what I'd like to do is probably set up where we've got a week, like where you can go and kind of camp there and be there day in, day out. I think that would probably be the better option for it, rather than, say, for instance, just going for a day, which is pretty much what my hunts have been, like a day in, day out, or two nights sort of thing. Like get there late Friday night, hunt all day Saturday, get into bed Saturday night, and then do half a day, if even, on the Sunday. What was the property I paid for? It was Red Hill. So that is in northern New South Wales. It was a really good property. I can definitely recommend it. But yeah, guys, keep those questions coming. If you guys did want to jump in on this live chat, please do. I don't know. You just need to ask if you can invite yourself or join. Questions from your viewers will show up here. No, that's all good. Cooking. When it comes to also cooking, I think the other thing that's worked really well with the different game meat. So at the moment in my freezer, I don't have any more hare left because I used all of that. I've got some red deer and I've got some goats. And the goats, all I've tried is a goat curry so far, and I am meaning to, I have videoed that. I'm just getting it edited up, so I will put that up eventually, but that's been really incredible. I also had... I also have some red deer, and with the red deer, I've tried a few different recipes, and I think mainly I put them up online. I did a yellow curry with the red deer recently, and that was pretty good. I probably just didn't have enough spice for the amount of red deer that I put in. What's my biggest challenge so far? Love the episode, mate. Keep it coming. Thanks. What's my biggest challenge so far? That's a very interesting one. I would think, realistically, probably time. There's a lot of challenges that come with bow hunting, but I think having time and that in time, like that, has almost been like an ongoing effect for why it has affected me as well. So not having enough time to go out and spend like a week, for instance, to go hunting and spend that time in the bush, so I'd really like to be able to pattern the deer and get after the deer the way that I'd probably like to. So what instead has happened is every time I've gone on a hunt, typically what happens is I see the deer and I chase after the deer. Like I go straight to them because I don't feel that I've got the time to kind of watch them when it's going. Oh, buffalo. I'd love to come up for some buffalo, Ron. That'd be awesome. Sometime soon. So yeah, when it comes to the deer, I'd say that time's been my biggest issue. And then when I'm there in the moment, I put time pressure on myself. And I think that's definitely something that I learned a lot from the goat hunt. You might have seen I put up a little public, I guess it was kind of an apology. Not really, but I feel like it was not the standard of hunting that I want to be at. But at the same time, that's probably where that challenge has kind of kept coming from. And it's like, remember that I am very new to hunting. And so I'm still learning a lot of the things that people have learned probably when they were young, probably when they were 5 or 6 or 8 years old when they first picked up a bow. So, I mean, for me, it's kind of been, I'd say a time thing, realistically, coming into it as a male of a later age. So I'm 29. Coming into it and trying to get it going, like, I don't know, it's just been a bit crazy, but that would probably be my biggest thing. Maybe try a bow hunting course. What bow hunting course? I am actually, so the part of the group, the Ridge group, is watching Live in Bali. That's awesome. Can you hunt in Bali? Ben, I hunt Richards. I would think that that's a yes. Ben, I hunt Richards. Can you hunt in Bali? There is like a few courses that you do through the Ridge group as becoming a member. Like you have to actually do a few bits and pieces. So I'm excited for that. I am excited to kind of figure out what's coming with that. Yeah. Tom, do you know, like, I don't know if you know of a bow hunting course. The only one I've really seen is kind of that Cayuga one. I think where they kind of take you away for a week and you do a fair bit there. Cayuga Adventure, yeah, cool. I haven't actually talked to anyone who's done that, but I'm sure that would be a really cool weekend. And maybe that's something that I will do eventually. Right now with it being like, I guess coming into a new family, it's probably, we're trying to save a bit of money. So that's probably where the biggest thing has been there. Some outfitters offer intro courses, yeah, cool, but very expensive. Once again, yeah, like I was saying. So that's probably been the biggest setback for me, is coming down to that side of things, is like money. When I've come into it, I've already spent a lot of money, and like I am from a young family, so spending a lot of money to go out and do these things is all well and good, but at some point I need to look at it and say, well, hold up, there's my wife and our future kid and our family and our bits and pieces that we have to put into account as well. So that's always something that I've kind of fallen back on, I guess, and it's always like, almost like using it as, I don't know, I always used it as like, I'm going to go meat shopping. That was the whole point. Hey, I'm going to go start like getting us some meat from the wild, and so far it's been 2 years and I haven't had a whole heap of meat. No, not quite 2 years, but I haven't had a whole heap of meat from the wild. So it kind of, I guess, like selling it as that point is no longer a thing, but realistically it's created a whole heap of different bits and pieces for me along the way. So yeah, that's an interesting point, the whole money side of things. They have chital deer, but they are protected by the Indo government. Okay, cool. So can you actually go hunting at all there, dude? Like, are you allowed to be out and about, or is it all very hit and miss? I've been to Indo a few times. It's freaking hot there. That would be interesting hunting weather, I'm sure. Are you going to get someone from the group on? Love to learn about it. Do you mean the group from the Ridge group? Yeah, I'd love to. It's definitely been on the game cards, I guess, realistically, but I just haven't had a chance as of yet to get them on board. So it's realistically for me, the biggest thing with doing this bow hunting stuff is I've just been trying to do it over nighttime. Like right now, it's 5:30 in the afternoon. Just quickly jumping on. I've actually got a call straight after this. Like I'm still working essentially. So a lot of it has been just kind of fitting it in between my jobs and my bits and pieces. So that's kind of where the bow hunting, becoming a bow hunter fits in. And realistically started as a hobby, and I learned a lot. I've learned a hell of a lot, and the amount of reward that I've got from starting the podcast is incredible. Like I get messages almost weekly from people saying like, "Hey, dude, I'm a rifle hunter, and because of listening to the podcast, I really want to get into bow hunting." Or, "Hey, dude, I've never tried bow hunting before, but I started listening to your podcast, and I'd really love to get into it." So that for me is probably the thing that kind of keeps it going. Like that is something that is really exciting to me because I know how much it's really helped me out. And I mean, if not, like, to be honest, I was a bit of a CrossFit fiend beforehand. I still am. I still enjoy doing CrossFit. I still enjoy my fitness, and my health and fitness is always going to be a massive part of my life and probably what led me into the bow hunting stuff right now. But my obsession's almost moved away from CrossFit as much as what it was. I think timing, because of the business, it's expanding right now, so it means that it's taking a lot of my energy, so it means I don't have the time to put into it. So having something like bow hunting to move back onto as well is really been quite good for the mindset, because I can sneak outside really quick and shoot off 10 arrows and pull the sign back in. Pull the target back in, and that's just really helpful. It kind of is just a really good mental break here and there as well. And the focus, like some people might not find it like this, but I really find it actually quite meditative because it's something that you sit and you focus on. Like obviously a lot of stuff we do is sitting and focusing on stuff, but so much in life is like, okay, I'm on Instagram and I've got this message and I've got that message and there's all of these things going on behind me, and it's just so much distraction. Whereas when you're shooting that arrow, all that matters is like thinking about what you're doing, like thinking about that shot process, thinking about going through the steps and thinking about where that arrow is going to end up. And when it doesn't end up where it's meant to end up, what did you do wrong and how you can go back over that. And I think that side of it has been, that was definitely what drew me into it, to be honest. Like I enjoy the whole concept of it, but I don't know if you guys have been listening along the whole way, but at one point, I went on a hunt and I shot a dog, and it was a wild dingo, and that scarred me a lot. And to be honest, I seriously considered almost giving up on hunting because of how much it affected me from taking that shot. So, but realistically, the thing that's kept me in it the whole way is the fact that going in and doing those shots day in, day out, being able to practice, not that I've been practicing daily, but being able to practice a hell of a lot can be really, really useful. And Lonnie Brockman just joined, and Lonnie has recently just gone through some surgery. I don't actually know what you went through, Lonnie, so sorry for that, but I'm going to tell you a story anyway. There's videos of him on Instagram, and he's just got his string. He's sitting in bed with his release, and he's just sitting there pulling the string and just smashing, like just doing reps on and on and on, like just nonstop, just doing his reps, pulling back, bang. And he's like, the nurses called me strange, which I think is just incredible. Like that's a really good example of exactly what I think bow hunting can do for us as a mental state. And giving back to you personally as an individual, that's definitely something. Do you think of doing 3D shoots down the track? Yeah, definitely. I'd love to. Once again, it's probably been a bit of a time thing for me. A lot of the side of it's been whenever I've had some spare time, I'd prefer to go out to hunt instead because I've had that access. So I've never had the limitations of going to, of not having the option to go to the farm. And so apart from if it's like just a day. So I've definitely gone to some ranges. I've really enjoyed it every time I've gone there. But to be honest, I've just been busy. So my weekends fill up fast when I've got the option to go outside and shoot for an hour outside compared to having to drive 30 or 40 minutes each way, shoot for however long I can, and then drive home. It just seems like the easier option. So definitely I would love to do some 3D shoots. I think there's still some more fine-tuning I can do with my bow. I think there's a lot I can still learn. But while I'm on the topic, the Renegade Bowman this weekend are actually having an event. So that's on Saturday, Sunday, I believe, and I'm pretty sure it's a free event from what I've heard from some of the boys. So Mitch Warren was telling me about it. Also, the guy that I went on a hunt with a few weeks ago to the goat property, Lawrence, he was telling me all about it because they're both members of Renegade, and they were just saying, "Hey, dude, they've got an event on. I think there is a competition on that you can enter." I can't because I've got some stuff on Saturday, so I'm just going to go in on Sunday, and I'm pretty sure they're putting on like a butchering class. They're putting on just like a whole heap of different bits and pieces all around bow hunting, which I think is sick. Like just having that idea and having that option, I think is really cool. Like realistically, what it does come down to is education, and that's probably why people have enjoyed the podcast so far, because typically it's just been me asking questions from a beginner's point of view, and it's been so green from the start because really I came into it not understanding or knowing what I was doing. So Yeah. So, guys, keep those questions coming. Also, if you did want to jump onto this chat, feel free to join me. I don't know how you can do it. Can't remember, but you can pretty much request to be on. I think there was a message before about how does the goat taste. How's the goat taste? I'm guessing that's what it's meant to be. Goat is freaking incredible. I've really, really enjoyed it. I don't know. It's very similar to lamb. The fat content is definitely not as much. I've only so far had it as curries. So outside of that, I can't really say yes or no. But typically, so far, I've really enjoyed it. It's been really, really delicious. Back surgery. Wow, Lonnie, that's hectic. Any type of training I can do. The only type of training you can do during your hospital stay. It's about all. Yeah, wow. It's just dedication, 100%. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like getting back on the horse and making sure you're doing things. You know, in the fitness industry and the health industry, so I run a nutrition consulting company. We go out and we do like wellness in the workplace. We go and we do like personalized nutrition coaching programs and bits and pieces as well for like we'll go out to a gym and we'll do nutrition programs for the whole gym, like individual programs for the whole gym. And one thing I see a lot of is lack of motivation or lack of inspiration when it comes to these things. Like training and nutrition are two things that you have full control of. Like you at the end of the day get to say what goes in your mouth, and you at the end of the day get to say how much you move on a day. Yes, life happens, but it's all about setting your priorities right. But when it comes to it, like the amount of people that don't have that dedication to something is crazy. Like how easy it is to twist someone's arm to not do something is ridiculous. It's hard to get people to do things that motivates them. So when you find something like bow hunting that you really enjoy, archery that you really enjoy, it is definitely like very, very worthwhile to kind of keep chasing that thing. And if you run out of time, then try put in some time the following day for it. Like I feel like if you can just kind of keep those things, that's what's going to keep you mentally sane, definitely. But yeah, Lonnie, that's hectic, dude. And guys, once again, if you have any questions, please do fire away. Like I said, I do have a call I have to be on in a bit, so we won't be going for a full hour, but we'll be around for a little bit. So if you do have any questions, please jump on in. For listeners on the other end who are listening to this at a later date, like I said, this is an experiment, so far, I think it's been pretty good, but if you never want to hear of these podcasts again, please let me know. And one thing you can always do, guys, is recommend who you think should be on the podcast, because for me, like I said, I'm pretty time poor at the moment, and I've just been jumping on Instagram, and I message some people who look like they've got some cool photos or cool stories of bow hunting, and that's kind of how it's come about so far. The amount of messages I send that never get back to me is incredible. The amount of messages that I send that unfortunately you just never hear from is ridiculous, but I think that's just part of it. Steve, you're going to jump on in. Good. Let's see how this audio turns out. Waiting for Steve. Steve_U8. How are you, dude?
Good. What's going on, man?
Oh, dude. Not much. Plenty, but not much. Can you...
Sorry, just fix this audio. It's all good.
That's all right. I think that works out all right. Hopefully you can hear it for the...
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, man.
Yeah, sick. Hopefully the listeners can hear as well. That's cool, man. So tell us a little about yourself, Steve.
Man, I just thought I'd jump on, give you a chop out. It's always hard doing a live or for the first couple of times or like that when there's no questions rolling in. So you've done this with me when I did a similar platform, jumping in and just asking questions. So we'll have that.
Dude, that's it was actually
the sexy beast from Mexico, yeah. Brad from New South Wales.
Yeah, I actually fully stole this idea from you. I was like, hey, I've got no content lined up, and this was my next option. I was like, hell, I'll give it a shot. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, dude, that's what I feel. You gotta try to wing it every now and again, but every now and again you can get some good questions, interactions coming through.
Typically,
which I find is always good with two people. You know, then we have a conversation, and then people ask questions on the conversation. So we'll figure that out.
Exactly. Typically, I'll come in with like a whole heap of notes, and today I came in. My notes says thumb release. That's it. So I was so unorganized for today, but I'm like, fuck it, it's going to make it happen. It's,
there you go. I shoot a thumb release. So that's where it's
cool. What's kind of been the biggest realization for you with the thumb release?
I tried when I first started shooting a wrist style release, and I found my anchor point kept on wandering a little bit just when I was shooting it. And I found a buddy at the range let me a thumb release for a while, and I thought, you know what, I'll give this a crack. And I found my anchor point locked really, like my knuckles lined up with my jaw quite comfortably, and that was a solid, consistent anchor where I drop it into my ear and in my jawline, and the thumb release was really consistent anchor for me as opposed to a wrist release. So I just stuck with it since there.
Yeah.
Also, I got the swivel style head on the thumb release there too, so I don't get any torque in my D loop, and probably good form would get that habit out. But I found it was a little bit more lenient.
Yeah, when I went to Jake's that day.
In respect to that.
When I went to Jake Gasparowski's that day, he actually had one that had the swivel on it, whereas the one that I've got doesn't have the swivel. And straight away, that's definitely something I've noticed is depending on my position, that can definitely change that torque on the D loop, like you're saying.
Yeah, exactly right. Especially like if you're lining up and you're actually moving it shot, you might just slightly twist your wrist or something like that. It's going to add a degree of torque to your wrist. So no, again, not great form, but when you're out there shooting, you might be focused on your sight or your posture or whatever like that. And it's just another little cheap way of getting around it, I find, which, it works for me.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. So
that's why they make them, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. What do you grind your teeth on, man? What's your bread and butter? What are you mainly hunting?
At the moment, it's Samba season, or Samba for me, which is a painstakingly long, drawn process. I'm from Victoria, so I'm hunting the east of Melbourne, Victoria, around the high country, low high country there.
Yeah.
But those things are elusive, beautiful animals, man. So, get a sight in, but getting anywhere within shooting range is becoming a test of patience, we'll call it.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's what I set my goals on this year or next year or 5 years, whatever, how long it takes.
Yeah.
But, man, I don't know if you've ever been down to Victoria and walked through some of the state forests down here, but it's so thick and scrubby, and just getting a decent shot in as well as getting close to an animal. So many times I've been walking down and I've either heard one and snorted at me and taken off. I had no idea it was, 5-10 meters away sometimes. And, or I've been sitting there waiting, and they could be 20 meters away looking at me, and I'm looking at them, and I didn't even realize. So, very, very amazing animal to see out there, man. But that's the goal. That's the goal for me is put some Samba in the freezer. I
remember once Aiden Doomsis actually put up a photo, and it was like, how many deer are in this photo? And I looked at it, I'm like, I can't see any. And then I kept looking, and I looked for ages and ages and ages. And I think I found one eventually. And it turned out that there was like 6 or 7 in that photo. And you just, like, they're just that, like you're saying, that elusive. You just can't literally see them. They're ridiculous.
Yeah, man. It's a Where's Wally for sure sometimes. They, if you see that photo, I remember the one you're talking about. And they're just so camouflaged. And not to mention their sight and their smell is amazing. And if the wind's against you or you forgot to remove the deodorant the night before or something like that, they know you're there a kilometre away. So good luck on you walking up there with a stick and a bit of string to try to put one of it down. But that was my last however many weekends I've been hammering away at it. Yeah. But that's what bow hunting's all about, It's not about collecting trophies or seeing who gets the most animals or whatever it is. It's about the actual thrill of the hunt and enjoying it and being out there.
Have you tried Samba yet, like to actually eat it?
Yeah, my first deer ever was a Samba,
cool.
Which was, we'll call it a case of pure luck on that one. You hunted Talangi. That's exactly the territory I'm talking about, KOTW. That's where I was the last several weekends of the month and things like that is hunting Talangi, and that's what I'm talking about. There's certain pockets where there's openings, and there's a lot of thick, dense scrub there, as you probably know from asking the question. But I enjoy the taste of Samba. It's quite nice. Depends on the time of the year and age and all that sort of stuff, and how you butcher it and freeze it and everything like that and prepare it. Yeah. I'm still learning how to cook game meat. There's a few good guys on Instagram that's showing me a few good recipes and how to do it. But, if you overcook it, it tastes like shit regardless, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it really is quite an art when it comes to cooking. And I think that's why no one actually puts in the effort with it. because they're just like, you know, it's too hard to cook. Whereas it doesn't take that much. It's just, you just need to put in some effort. What do you think is the best arrow?
The best arrow is a can of worms. It's kind of like talking about the best bow, the best release.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone's got their 2 cents.
Yeah.
I started off with El Cheapo Buckbusters, to be honest, and they served me well for about 2 years. They don't last as long, and they're not .00001, whatever it is of straightness, but they flew pretty well and did right. But I just upgraded to the Carbon Express Maniacs, and I couldn't be more impressed with them for under $20 an arrow, set up, ready to go.
Yeah,
and they fly like darts, man. I'm super stoked with them. There's tight groupings at up to 50 yards or 50 meters, sorry. And I can't fault it.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So again, it's what works for me. What works for you might be 2 different things. We got different shooting style, different bow, different setup, draw weight, and all the other variables. But I find the Carbon Express Maniacs for bang for your buck is a good arrow.
Yeah, I think realistically it comes down to something that you have confidence in is the best arrow for you. Because you need to trust the equipment you're using. Realistically, that's what it comes down to, I think. So yeah. Have you heard from anyone about butchering game? No, I haven't yet. I've been in talks with a few people, and the last taxidermist I actually reached out to about taxidermy just said, you know what, you can find it all online, mate. No thanks. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So it's an ongoing journey. So if you know of any butchers or any game butchers, you know what, I might even just get Kevy Schilf back on, because he's a butcher by trade. He works in the meat slaughter still, so he might be worthwhile having back on.
Those guys are always good if they're willing to have a chat, man. There's a couple of good guys online. You can pick apart their brains. But again, are they willing to help if they've got 5 minutes in the day to talk you through it? And some of those guys make butchering look so easy. You can break down an animal in half an hour. I'll be sitting there. Like, my first job was a butcher, and I can still sit there for 2 hours splitting it up and breaking it down and things like that. It takes forever sometimes. And
when you worked in the butchers, was it still they'd come as a carcass, or was it you would have to? Yeah, okay. So I worked at Woolies Butchers.
So 14-year-old me did that.
Yeah, that was same as me, but it was Woolies Butchers. So I literally just got given like packeted meat that I'd have to mince or sausage or do something like that. So
spent many hours on the back of a mincer or full carcasses come through, put them down the bandsaw, break them down smaller. But just learning from the guys too. Like, I had no interest in hunting or anything at that period of time.
Yeah.
But the knowledge is still floating around in the back of my head. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matty the Bearded Bowman was a beef boner by trade, so that guy can break down a fallow like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, really? There you go.
I'm going to talk you up, Matty. There's a guy I follow too. He's a guy from New South Wales, I believe, the Bald Chef. In terms of game recipes and things like that, jump on his page. He's got a couple of ones of him breaking down a deer, and he's constantly throwing up recipes with wild game, rabbit, venison, goat, the works, man. He's a wild game chef himself, as he calls it. So definitely check him out in terms of recipes and things like that, and how to break down animals.
Love it. So, do you have a mincer or a sausage maker or anything yourself?
No, I'm on the market for one really
Me
soon.
too.
I think as soon as I lay down my next animal, I'm going to go to the shop the day after and buy it down and mince up some parts. And talk to some guys in the States and things like that when they're whitetail hunting. And they take a lot of the neck meat and different other cuts, and they mince it all up. Yeah. And actually, they take it to a processor, and the processor makes it into deli meat, salamis, and things like that for them, as well as sausages. And I was like, we haven't got that luxury over here, I don't think. So we'll try to do it the old-fashioned way and get some natural skins and maybe a mincer and a sausage maker or whatever attachments you can get.
Yeah. I went to to a butcher's here, and they said that it's actually illegal for them to have anything that hasn't gone through the abattoirs. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, so unless you can find someone who's a mobile butcher who will come out to you, even then I think it's going to be pretty hard to get someone who can do all of that for you on the spot. So yeah, unless you got a mate who's really
mobile
good with
butchers, if I remember rightly, $300 to $500 for an animal, which is still quite expensive. Yeah, but that's their livelihood. You wouldn't want to undercut a trade. That's what they do for a living, and they're very good at it.
And they're not going to miss any of the meat. You know what? One of the biggest issues I had with getting the goat all butchered up was actually around the hips and around the rump, like getting that all off nicely. That was probably the stuff that I had the biggest issues with.
Yeah, you find deer are a lot easier, or I find anyway, because how lean they are and their actual muscle groups. Their muscle groups almost follow the lines of your cut. Yeah. So you sort of slice down those sections and sort of quarter it up or eighth it up or whatever you want to call it, and then break those down into either steaks or rump roasts or whatever it be. So depends how you want to butcher it, I guess, too. There's so many different options.
I butchered up a red deer leg, and that was so simple. It was literally like once you found the line, you pretty much just slip your finger along, and that was it.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
I wish they were all that simple.
Yeah. So, I mean, Adam, PJ, Budurk, he actually just said classes on how to break down wild game would be such a great resource, and there definitely is that on option. If you go to your different bow, archery groups, like they've definitely got it. They've definitely got a heap going on there. So, if you can get out to to your local club,
Wild Deer Expo and things like that recently. There's big marquees set up. I don't know if you attend any of that sort of stuff, but it's big marquees and they had carcasses hanging up and actually like little workshops on how to break them all down and what to look for and what not to do and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Matt's just saying you chase the hate train. Oh yeah, exactly. And I think like even I've watched 1,000 videos, yet every time you go to do it, it's just completely different. Like it's just something new.
Yeah, you can only learn so much from YouTube, right? Sometimes you just got to get your hands dirty.
Yeah, it's exactly what one of the guys said. He said you just need to cut up more animals. It gets easier the more you do it.
Yeah.
We're looking for adventure. Yeah.
Yeah, Brad's definitely laid a few animals down this time, so no doubt he's handy with a knife.
Yeah, definitely. And so mincers, I've been told that a lot of the mincers that you can get that are mincers and sausage makers, they're not that great. Like they're really good as a mincer, but not great as a sausage maker. And so I've been recommended to get both, which once again I'm kind of like I can't really justify it right now. Like I'd probably just prefer to get a mincer bone, like a mincer sausage maker. So if there's any listeners that know of a good one, please hit me up. I'd love to know.
Yeah, that'd be keen to know.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that. That one tool does the job right, you know what I mean? If you get a mincer, get a mincer. If you get a sausage maker, get a sausage maker. So that makes perfect sense. Yeah. But having said that, I prefer it actually minced down. You can do a lot more with it. Like someone just chucked me a recipe for ravioli for venison recently. Yeah. I was like, that sounds perfect, you know, rather than having a sausage, I'd rather do that.
Yeah. Always keep the fat chilled,
half frozen.
Yeah, there you go.
Spot on. You got to have a bit of fat in sausages if that's what you intend to make. Otherwise, they come out nasty.
Yeah.
Really hard to cook them without the fat through there.
Real dry. Oh, no, that's awesome. I think so. I mean, you can obviously just go to a butcher's and get either like your pork ends, or you can go and get something like some beef fats. Yeah, I think it depends on which option you want to use.
Yeah, exactly right. And again, I'm no chef whatsoever, but I'm sure there's a nice complementary fatty and meat you could probably mix in with venison or goat or something like that to make it a bit more tastier.
Someone recommended before the Bearded Butchers on YouTube as well. They said that was a really good channel for watching for your different bits and pieces when it comes to actually cooking game meat. They said that was a good channel. So
yeah, definitely have to check them out.
Yeah.
I find there's so many channels in that, but Australia being such a small hunting culture that anything you really chuck in, it's Americanized. So it's always like elk, black bear, whitetail, and things like that. And some recipes would probably transfer, but it's all very American centric. So it's hard to find like an Aussie guy who knows his local game and what he does with it. You know?
Yeah. It's funny though, listening to Steve Rennell. I don't know if you've ever heard any of his stuff, and he's like, literally, you just need to. He's like, you need to find a shank recipe, not a red deer or a fallow deer. It's like if you can find a shank recipe, typically it will go across most of the animals. But I completely agree with what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. Try it, and obviously you don't want to waste any meat. So it's
his podcasts and books are amazing. You know, and he's really good that way. He's really open-minded in that respect. Where he's just like, if you ever tried this, like everyone's got 1,000 different heart recipes. You know, all that sort of stuff with the different animals around the place.
Yeah. So, the different cuts. Sorry, Matt. The different cuts.
Matty the beef boner.
Yeah, exactly. He'd know it. So, I mean, when it comes to neck meat, I actually slow cooked up the neck meat that I got from the goats, and that was incredible. That was really good eating.
Yeah, right.
It was. I'd heard previously like neck meat is incredibly good for anything slow cooked, and when I actually tried it, I was like, yeah, this is like spot on the money.
I'm pretty sure most things in a slow cooker, when you do it right, taste delicious though, you know?
Yeah,
you basically have anything in the pantry, throw it in, and away you go.
Breaks it down to nothing. Cuts no particular critters.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's where he's going with that.
Yeah, no, I like it. All right, well, I'm going to have to actually bounce. So
jump off.
Thank you very much for joining me, Steve.
No worries, man.
And thank you for everyone else who's jumped on in. But yeah, that's been it. If you guys do have any recommendations around who I should have on the podcast, I would really love to hear from you. Outside of that, like
Matt Part 2.
Matt Part 2, yeah, definitely. I mean, we left a lot unsaid, so that could be very worthwhile, especially now that we've talked about butchering a bit more. Maybe it'd be a good chat, just as Steve Ranella said. Cuts no particular critter, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think if anyone's listening along, like I did say earlier on, for those who are on Instagram later, I am about to have my first baby, which means that potentially the podcast is going to go on.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you, dude. Yeah, so the podcast is potentially going to go on hold for a little bit during that time. But yeah, if anyone does have any recommendations for guests at the moment, I would love to hear from you. Because, like I said, I'm a one-man band. I've been trying to just jump on and find people wherever I can. And yeah, it's just one of those things. So peace out, everyone. Thanks for joining me, Steve. I really appreciate it, dude. So I was fumbling my words and trying to get my way away.
No worries, man.
I appreciate it. All right, cool. Talk soon. Thanks, heaps, team. Really appreciate you guys joining. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all of the encouragement. And hope you guys are enjoying it. If you have if you have any feedback for the podcast, I'd love to hear it, because so far I know a lot of the content has been around hunting, and I do have the idea to go into what do we do post hunt and what do we do like when it comes to butchery and all that side of things. It's just actually finding the people. So if you know of anyone who is interested in talking on those topics, then yeah, please shout out. Thanks heaps, team. That's it, guys. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us this week on Becoming a Bowhunter. You guys can follow along with the journey at becomingabowhunter.podcast on Instagram and Facebook. You can also head across to the YouTube channel, which is Becoming a Bowhunter. So guys, follow along. We've got a whole heap of different recipe videos up there, as well as different snippets from along the way, along the journey so far. If you guys do enjoy the show, please pass it around. If you got something out of this show, then I'm sure another bow hunter, another friend of yours would get a hell of a lot out of it as well. So please share the love, share the podcast, and thank you so much for tuning in.